Everyone to the April 18th, 2023 Winchester Planning Board meeting. We have a quorum, and why don't we start with a roll call vote? Let's see, Sally Dale. You need to unmute yourself, Sally.
I am present.
Thank you. Carrie Layton.
Present.
Yi-Ching Scott.
Present.
Nick Rosettos.
Present.
And I am Dave Jerris. I'm also present. We are joined today by our recording secretary, Nancy Polcari, as well as Assistant Town Engineer, Brian Manter. Just to let everyone know that we are being recorded both via Zoom and via webcam. If you do not wish to show up on the recording, please turn your video off and make sure that you are muted. In order to keep our meeting from getting interrupted, I have turned off the ability of people to unmute themselves. So if you wish to speak, please raise your hand and we will get to you. So why don't we do some open meeting, so some updates. So I think the big update for the board is that we had a candidate for our town planner, Kelly Linema, and we interviewed her about a week or so ago, and we offered her a position. She has chosen to take another position. So we do not have someone coming into the town planner role. One of the things that we're going to have to talk about this evening is how we move forward on that. This is not on our agenda, but since this occurred, Ms. Luna got back to us and gave us our decision this past Saturday. So it's impossible. It's within our if something happens within 48 hours of the meeting, then we can discuss it, even if it's not on the agenda.
Oh.
And I think this is fairly important for us to come to some understanding of where we move forward on that. So why don't we, we've got 20 minutes for updates and upcoming items. Are there any other updates that people want to talk about?
I'll make a brief plug for everyone to participate in Aberjona River Day with the Conservation Commission next Saturday.
Oh, thank you.
Cool.
I'm there.
Cool.
Okay. I should also note that there is a forum, Emerging Housing Opportunities Forum at the Jenks Center on May the 11th at 1 p.m. Which is, I think I put up a flyer about it last week, but I promised I'd keep talking about it. Of note is that the two 40B projects at River Street and at Cambridge Street are now, the lottery for the affordable housing units is open, and it is closing at the end of May. So anyone who is listening to this program and wants to apply for the lottery should contact the town manager's office for more information. It's also on the town's website. Anything else that people want to discuss? Let's see, I apologize on my low energy. I have a bit of a headache right now, so I may be a little out of it.
Yeah, it's certainly, well, I think it's an understatement to say it's disappointing. And it's also, yeah, I mean, just everything. I mean, just hearing that you have put yourself out to the point where you're using all of your paid time off needs to be rectified.
Yeah, for those, I think we need to come to terms with the practicality of what we can get done. I think that one of the things that the town manager reached out wanting to know how we were going to proceed. One option is to hire a part-time interim person. And that's something that we had hoped to avoid because we thought we had a good candidate. Sally has looked into recruiters. Is there Sally, you want to describe that a little? Using words
Sure.
Before Sally starts, I just want to, maybe we can have some more discussion about a part-time interim person after Sally speaks, or just at least think about what action items might be on that.
Well, I agree that having a part-time temporary town planner is definitely an option that we should keep on the table, considering that having no town planner is worse than having a temporary part-time town planner, even if she would be new to our system, she, presumably they, I should say.
I mean, they would be able to do a lot of the administrative stuff, one would think.
Well,
I would
that's an
hope.
option. So I think that it's something that needs to be moved forward, just generally. But the other option that I investigated is I did a Google search for people who specialize in recruiting and filling positions in the field of urban planning and allied disciplines. And a few firms came up. One of them, I'm not even sure where they are. I think they're on the West Coast, but it's just by their telephone exchange. But the others were all in the UK. So I guess if you want a planning job, there's lots of options in the UK. I'm not sure. But anyway, I didn't call any of them. I did reach out to the one that I had found on the West Coast, and he said that they have a partnership with the American Planning Association. They are one of the lead players, or the most well-known player in the field of finding, recruiting, and filling urban planning positions. So that was encouraging. And I asked about their fee, and he said that for about 8 weeks of work total, finding, screening, presenting, interviewing, they would charge, what did he say, $21,000, which is a lot of money. So considering the troubles that we're having with finances in the town, it's something just to continue to advocate for, if that's what we decide we want to do.
Yeah, I
Is
think
our job position still posted?
our job position is not posted. We can repost the job position. It closed in February. We posted it for 30 days. I think that the planning board, if the planning board decides to go with the sort of recruiter or whatever they're called, we'd actually, because it's more than $10,000, we'd have to go through an RFP process to select one of these firms. So that adds in some amount of lag time. So so this, we don't, unfortunately, or fortunately, the way the budget process works is that we can't avail ourselves of the money that would have been paid out to the town planner. So there's a chunk of money which was part of the salary for the town planner, but that can't be used for anything else. So even though we might consider there's money there because we don't have a town planner, we don't have access to that. So if the board wants to go that route, then that's something I would discuss with the town manager to see what we want to do, how we would get that money.
Diab, so at this point in the budget process, the analysis of what they call turnbacks is underway, if not complete, and the unused portion of the planning board's personnel services budget would be part of that rollback, and it's a pretty sizable amount. And considering the needs of the planning board for both a interim part-time town planner and possibly paying the fee for a recruiter, it may be that we would ask that that money not be turned back and used instead to save the day. Because
Well,
Yeah.
the money doesn't get turned back until the end of the fiscal year. So it's
so I
kind
think
of,
we
it,
should ask to have it used for these purposes.
yeah, so we would, I don't know what the steps are to do that, so. So understanding where that money goes, if it's just locked up or if there's a way of accessing it is something that we need to talk to. But yeah, I don't think it's technically a turn back until July 1st, but yeah,
So that's good. I mean, I know the modeling is probably considering it a turn back, but I think that given the importance of the role, it's a key pivotal town hire. And that people are very sympathetic to the work that the planning board is doing while in the absence of a town planner. Maybe they would be open to that discussion of using unpaid salary for those two purposes.
yeah. I mean, that's a conversation that we can have with the town manager as soon as. I think town manager is waiting to understand which way this board wants to go.
Okay.
So for no fee, we could just repost the job description, correct?
That's correct.
I mean,
all right,
we should do
what,
that
do we
in
need
any
a vote
case.
to do that, or can we just determine to do that so that we don't lose any time?
This board can simply say, yes, we want it reposted.
Yeah.
And so I don't.
Or do we need to vote?
Why not? Sure. At this
I
point,
move that we repost the town planner's job description and that we don't limit it to 30 days, limit it to some other longer period of time.
which would be how long?
Vivian,
Go ahead.
I was gonna suggest, you said we can free up funds July 1st, so maybe post it until July 1st, and if nothing comes, then we take more proactive measures.
Okay, so we'll repost.
I mean, is there an advantage of posting it, or can't we just re-up it every month? Is there an advantage to just, or are there any drawbacks to posting it for 3 months?
I think
One,
there's a
people-
minimum we have to post it. And then we could add language saying that we will fill it as soon as we get a decent candidate. Or something like that.
Begin reviewing applications after 30 days or 15 days or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Or you could say applications will be reviewed on a rolling basis as they come in. And the job will be continued to be posted until a suitable candidate has been placed in the position. I don't know if that's legal or anything, but that's basically what we're talking about.
Isn't that the assumption of all job postings, though, that it's posted until filled?
Yeah, I've never really understood this posting thing. I think it's because from the town's point of view, they don't want dribs and drabs. They want everyone to say, wow, what a great opportunity. Oh my God, I only have until May 15th. I better just get right on this. And
Well,
then
it helps people who are deciding between multiple positions how to work their timeline.
Yeah, and I should point out that, the candidate who, Kelly Linema, actually, she came in, her posting was she responded, several weeks into the posting period. So I think there's,
Okay.
there's always a question, are you missing out an opportunity by not waiting until everyone gets their thing in? But I think, whichever way the board wants to go on this, I think it's possible to do on a rolling basis. So perhaps language saying, so right now I've got, we're gonna keep it open. We need a minimum of 2 weeks. That's easy. Keep it open until
filled.
until filled, or
Is that wrong to do that?
I don't know. I think that what I might suggest is that the language provide for a couple of different scenarios, and that the board has a prioritize which scenario they would prefer, and then we go to HR and they will say, this scenario is not legal, let's go to the next one, or they'll say this scenario is legal, and we will do that. So,
So considering the rhythm of the calendar year, one obvious breaking point is keep it posted until June 30th, because once you get into July and August, people pay less attention to their business inbox. Sporadically, less attention. So maybe if we post it through June 30th, that's a long time. April 15th, May 15th.
keep
Oh,
it-
no, it's 6 weeks.
yeah, it's not that far away. So keep posted until June 30th. Applications will be reviewed. And I think it has to be
On a
um,
rolling basis as they come in.
starting 2 weeks into whatever period, because I think
Yeah.
there's a minimum of 2 weeks. Starting 2 weeks into
The posting period.
posting period. And any other
Yeah, since we got 7 applicants, is it worth it to revisit any of the other 6?
I would the search committee did not consider any of the other applicants to have sufficient experience to take on a permanent role. One of the applicants was considered to be someone who would be appropriate for the assistant planner role.
Okay, so if we consider somebody as at a part-time basis, how do we decide on that? Can we decide that now and say we're also?
Yeah, I have that question as well, and I'd like to vote on it to see if we can decide on getting a part-time interim person right away.
Okay, well, let's
We have a motion on the table to do this, so I guess.
Yeah, so let's finish with the posting for the full-time, for the permanent position, just to make sure we don't lose. My brain is having a hard time keeping things tracked tonight. So I've got posted until June 30th. Applicants will be reviewed starting 2 weeks into the posting period. Are there any other things that you want to talk about? Are you okay with the existing language that's in the posting? Do we want to change anything like that?
I don't want to change anything in the posting, considering how difficult it was to come to that.
Okay. So,
That's just my personal opinion.
any other? So the motion is there a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, so then, just a roll call vote then. I Ching,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Sally,
I
and I say aye as well. Okay, now let's start talking about part-time planner. We would have to post for that separately, of course. And
I guess it's an interim person, whether they're part-time or full-time.
yes, thank you. It's an interim.
It's an interim person
It's
That's
an
right.
interim person.
who is expecting to be permanently in the position, who is filling in until such time as we get a candidate
Mhm.
that is a permanent candidate, permanent person for that position.
And Diab, when you say part-time, what does the town consider part-time?
It's not part-time. I don't think it's part-time. I think it's interim. I think it's full-time interim.
I don't know what's possible in terms of let me ask.
I mean, we don't know what we're going to be able to get, I guess, but
So let me, just because I'm ignorant of this, I will, the question to town manager is what sort of an how much of an FTE can we get? Because this money, I'm not sure again where this money is coming from. How much of an FTE can we get? And then what are the specific duties for this person?
Well, I think
Brian,
we have to go through the performance plan that we wrote and identify the ones that it's possible to give to a part-time or certainly interim planner. I don't know how you do that otherwise.
that's a good question. Brian Mantor, I noticed you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you. So maybe you touched on this earlier, but just doing a web search on like part-time planners stuff. There's the American Planning Association has an interesting article, and one of the thoughts they had was like hiring a consultant on like an on-call basis, which kind of reminded me of when we had that gentleman help us with the 10 Converse Place. You know, I think we went out an RFP for a bunch of planning type firms, and they submitted their qualifications, and I'm sure that there are probably some firms that are looking to fill some billable hours. So maybe it's probably a more expensive route, but it might be an interesting stopgap measure until we find a more full-time person.
So this would be planning consultants on call. And
I don't know, when I think about how my experience in Diab's experience of things come into the planning board every day, whether it's a small inquiry or a large inquiry. And so if someone's on call, that means that somebody has to review the inquiries and call them and say, do it, can you help us with this? Which is why I thought having somebody sitting in that desk down there, where we can say, the planning department is in, and people walk.
Yeah, I agree with Sally on that, having, I don't know, someone was telling, I thought it was thrown about retired individuals who are willing to do this work and that are experienced, but I don't know.
Well, that's,
I agree with you, Sally, that it should be someone that can sit there and do the scut work, all that work.
well, I can see that. I think that it's possible to have both. So, so the last time we had, when we several years back, we had money for an assistant planner, and we did interview with people, and so that is they were. We had a number of people who had just finished being, they were semi-retired from planning. So that, Nick, I think is kind of the person that I think you're thinking of in that role. So they have the experience to jump in, and they would be able to sit there for like, say, 20 hours a week or whatever the number is that we get. I don't know, the flip side is that if you hire someone, like when we have town council has office hours and such, and so they are essentially on call as well, but they are available. So I think both models might be able to work. I don't know, so you could say, okay, there's someone from some sort of, I don't know, let's just take an example. Maybe Foreman Place has someone that they could say, yeah, we'll sit there and take, we'll take all of your business for 20 hours a week. We'll do what the planner does. So maybe we should, I think the key thing is understanding what duties that we would want these people to take on. Things like we know that Waterfield is coming up, and that's very important. The things I'm worried about are some of the longer term ones, like working with Foreman Place for our stuff for next spring.
Yeah.
That's not something I think we want an interim person to be working on, because
No, but we need someone to do, we're gonna have to make.
Yeah, I just want to point out that it is 7:45. We do have minutes.
Do we need to vote on the interim planner as well?
I think we need to come up with the paperwork, or sorry, a description of what the duties are. And
if I share screen, we can get an idea, but not do it right now, but just scan through it really quick.
What are we scanning through?
The performance objectives document that was posted with the
Yeah, we can do that. I mean, I should note, we also have a lot of time set aside for discussion at the end of this meeting on Springtown meeting articles.
Oh, good, okay.
So we can take a few minutes before or after that to dive into this.
I mean, it's the
Yeah.
flip side of this whole discussion is
Yeah,
we may need to sit down and say, you know, what has to get done now and what can wait until we have a permanent planner.
yeah.
I mean, we have to make some of those trade-offs probably realistically.
And good point, Nick. And to Dieb's point, the 3A is not something we put off.
Right, 3A needs to be addressed immediately, obviously, which we'll, I guess we'll have a chance to discuss, or we're discussing, are we discussing, well, we're going to have a conversation about liaisons, and I imagine we can discuss taking on things in that discussion.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have a meet, I think we have 3A lined up for for next week. Or something, we have to, I forget what's on one of the things I was supposed to do is bring up what our plans are for the next several meetings. So with
Right.
the 3A discussion coming up, we have a form in place discussion. Form in place is waiting for us to talk about, to understand which direction we want them to go. They've given us fits, so we need to think about what direction we want. I just said that. So the 3A is, you know, when the consultants have gone through a model.
Right. I mean, do we need to do that before the town meeting?
No, we don't. We
Okay.
don't.
Dieb, we had it on the 25th, just when we were just, you know, putting stuff in boxes.
Okay, yeah. I mean, at some point we have to stop having meetings every week.
Right.
Because
Right.
this is really, this has been unusual. So why don't we, is there anyone here who wants, so we have, why don't we do some minutes?
Yeah.
And then we have an A&R that I think will be pretty quick. And then there's another there's an appeal of a building permit, which I personally think will be pretty quick on our side. But let's do are there any comments or corrections on the April 4th, 2023 minutes? This is for the Holton Street
Community meeting.
Sally?
I have one on the bottom of page 1 where it says review initial recommendations, and the minutes currently read there are 3 ways to achieve this, and I want to say there are 3 possible directions we could choose to achieve this, because it was presented to us by Josh Fiala of the MAPC as 3 choices, and they are as listed.
Is that okay with the board?
So it would say there are 3 possible directions we could choose to
Okay.
achieve this. And if that's okay, I'll just keep going.
Yeah, I think that's,
Um,
nobody seems to be upset about that. So if you
Right.
send that to Nancy.
And then on page 2, let's see, there's some bullets. 1, 2, 3, the 4th bullet. I didn't understand. So it says dimensional regulations should support businesses and make it easier to build/expand, semicolon. They include limits on building height, density, square footage, etc. And I just don't even know if we talked about what specific regulations would be involved. And
I think Josh put up a table where he showed how to, for instance, in some sections, to reduce the amount of parking space per square foot, to reduce the minimum lot size.
Yeah.
I think he mentioned that building size the height really didn't need to be changed, considering what was, so I think those are the things that would.
So instead of saying, they include limits on building height, density, square footage. What would it say then, based on what Josh said? They include,
I think those were just some of the levers that you could pull.
Yeah, those are
Yeah.
just some of the levers.
I just like to take it out because we're so not clear yet on what levers we're pulling.
I think
Well,
that it's just laying it out.
there was a
It's not-
big table on all the levers there, though. He did discuss those.
All right, so let's just edit to describe levers he discussed. Right?
But he
I-
specifically said all those things, so.
All right,
I mean,
well then, all right, why don't we just leave it then? Never
Well,
mind.
what Sally wants to do is just make sure that we're not committed to any of it.
Yes, Nick, thank you.
We have to say that explicitly. We're not committed to any of these things because we haven't agreed to any of them.
Well, yeah, I think the important point, and maybe it should be put on the top, this was a presentation from the MAPC consultant. And it was a presentation from the consultant and not from the board. So maybe that's really an important thing to put in there. And I think Josh may have said something to that, but
It might be all, I mean, it's all under one, saying that you introduced him and then Mr. Fiala gave the slides and abbreviated summaries followed.
Yeah. We can just leave it. It felt so specific and exclusive of all the other levers that are implicit in the code. But I just don't want, like you said, this is what his recommendations were. So that's fine if we just leave it, I think. And then, I don't know, anybody?
that seems, yeah. Go ahead.
I just noted that there were a couple of things that I actually missed in the actual conversation that I noted in the minutes, and there were a couple of business owners that were concerned that their IL, their light industrial use might be changed, and I think that is certainly something that we need to be sensitive to. I don't think we should walk in there and change people's property owners' zoning status if they've expressed. I mean, we need to be very sensitive about, particularly in light of the fact that we don't have much light industrial left, and we just have to be careful how we, what we bargain away to try to get something through. That was just a thought that I had subsequent to the meeting, reading some of these property owners' comments in the minutes.
Well,
Nick, that we had to leave early, and so these comments are after we left.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't that we weren't paying attention.
So
Thank you, Sally.
Our job here is merely to approve the minutes, but they're also, Nick, to your point, this is, we are going to come up with our recommendations based on this report, but we will be having thorough discussions with the people when we actually start writing zoning. That's when the rubber hits the road and we make the difficult decisions. This is only to help guide us and to let us know what's possible, and we may choose not to do it because that's not what. So this is only, we get expert opinions and then we make our decisions based on our own understanding. So I know but let us continue with this. Minutes. Any other concerns about or questions on the minutes?
Let me just see if I had any others. No, I mean, I gave Nancy a couple of typos like uses.
Okay. Well, then is there a motion to approve the minutes as, I know you had some amendments, Sally, that I think the board
I
agreed.
had one amendment on page 1.
Yeah.
And
So-
I have no edits on page 2.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve the minutes of April 4th, 2023 as amended?
So moved.
Okay,
Second,
thank you. Roll call vote. I Ching, please. Okay, Nick,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Sally,
I
and I say aye as well. Sally, if you could send those to Nancy.
will do.
Okay, I seem to be having some technical difficulties on my end. People are coming across strangely. So why don't we do one more and then let's get into our,
It's 7:54. I just want to know that it's 7:54. Should we just do, because there are some people here already. for
Yeah,
the
yeah, why don't
7:50.
we do
We can
that?
go back to the minutes, do you have?
Sure, we can go back to the minutes.
Okay,
Let's,
good.
let's do the A&R on 532 South Border Road. And, so Brian Mancher was kind enough to, clue me onto what's going on and, because, did we lose Brian?
No, we did not,
I should-
and I
I
hope
should
we
be here.
never do.
Oh, okay, there he is. Okay, sorry, Brian. Your orange coat, I should be able to see that. If you go to the next page, please, I Ching. Just to the plot plan, I think is an important one. There we go. Oops. So this is so approval not required means everything they're doing, they're subdividing the land, but it's not creating new roads. It's going to end up with the correct frontage, the correct size and all of those other things. And as Brian pointed out, what's happening is that land is being taken from lot 3A and it's being given to the other two lots on the left.
So
And-
that's what the 2A lots, 1A and 2A are the land that's coming out of 3 and
Yes.
going to 1 and 2.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I didn't even notice that that's actually written at the bottom of this plot in really tiny letters, tiny language. It says at the bottom, yep, right where you're circling it. So this is
Circle
all,
again, where?
it says lots 1A, 2A, and yeah, zoom in right there.
Oh, good, there it is.
Yeah,
Thank you.
lot 1A to become part of lot 1, lot 2A become part of lot 2. So what we would need to do is we would have to authorize the town clerk to sign this on the planning board's behalf. So if there's a motion to
I have
approve,
a question here.
Yeah.
There's so much building on South Border Road, and I was wondering if this is one of the lots where there are already buildings being built here. Is that correct? These have already been built?
that's what it looks like, yeah.
Yes.
So how were they able to do that if they were not buildable lots, is my question.
I don't know, they weren't buildable lots.
Well, it says they aren't below what you circled.
Yeah, it says lot 1A.
Oh, 1A.
Because isn't it a 10,000 square foot lot? And then
So
this
lot
is just a
one,
question. I'm not saying I just want to understand how procedurally that happened. They have the frontage, but they didn't have the square footage. It says 10,077.
I think
Is that-
you're saying that the 10,077 is without the 1A and the
Okay, so it was a buildable
10,684.
lot
Yeah.
somehow.
It
It
is a
was a buildable lot, and they're just giving more of it to these lots.
Yeah, he might be balancing the land mass just
Hmm.
to help
Because
with,
it's lot 1A and yes, yeah, I think you're right, Sally. It's lot 1A and lot 2A are not by themselves buildable lots. They're
Right.
just giving a little bit more leeway to these guys.
so the
padding,
lot 2
padding.
family would get the 10,684 plus the 1,576.
Right. But by themselves, lot 1 was a buildable lot and lot 2 was a buildable.
Mhm. Yes.
Okay, got it. All right, then
The
I
only
make a
question I
motion.
had was, when you look at the locus map in the upper left corner of this document, you can see that Alice Lane is a cul-de-sac. And I'm wondering if this cul-de-sac came before the planning board for a waiver.
I don't think so. I think it's been there for a long time.
Okay.
I don't know when the cul-de-sac was removed from the subdivision regs, but I don't recall in my time on the board any sort of a development or subdivision in this section of land. So,
Well, done is done right now, so I would move that the planning board instruct the town clerk to record the transfer of these 2 lots, the
Yeah, I think
pieces of land to the 2 lots. I'm not saying it right.
Yeah, well, I think we're gonna approve the A and R um, and, give town clerk the authority to sign on our behalf.
I move that.
And is there a second?
A second.
Okay, roll call vote, please. I Ching,
Aye.
Nick Rosettas,
Aye.
who's next? Carrie Layton,
Aye.
Valley.
I
I say aye as well. Thank you much. The next one that's before us is it's an appeal of a building permit, which was given for one of the lots on Abbey Road. And, the appeal is based upon whether or not if you scroll up, please. First of all, there's not enough information that's in this appeal, I believe, for us to come to a decision.
actually, I found the crux of the matter in the form that's filled out with handwriting. I think it's
Yes,
called
the
Form
crux is
1.
there.
And in Form 1, under, where did I see it?
It's
I
coming
found it.
up. It's right here.
Yeah, that.
The,
It says the issuance of the permit was an error due to the fact that the building exceeds 2.5 stories allowed per zoning bylaw section 4.0 for the RDB district. The lowest level should be considered a basement and therefore a story, resulting in a 3.5 story building.
right, but we don't, in order to have any opinion on this, we would have to get the actual plans and determine whether or not the lower level the dimensions are such that it is a basement rather than a cellar.
And so when is the zoning board of appeals asking for us to advise them of our recommendation?
When?
Yes.
I don't, it's actually on the first page of this, I Ching. If you
Oh, there it is, May 18th.
Yeah, so, this is one of those things where this is gonna come down to someone sitting down and measuring on the blueprints how much of the lowest level is above grade and whether it's more than 50% or less than 50%.
And
So-
does that comport with our definitions?
Yeah, so this is a technical thing. I don't know that this board actually has much to say about this because I'm not going to sit down and measure a blueprint. That's up to someone who does that for a living. So that's what it comes down to. Is this a basement or is this a cellar?
And a basement means it's a story and a cellar means it's not.
A basement, essentially, I believe we would have to go to the definitions to see how much of this. If it's a basement, then I think it might be considered a story. It's one of these things that, this is a technicality, which is, the building commissioner has made a determination. If we had a town planner who's going to sit down and measure and figure out what all these lines are, but there's no real. We're not talking about, whether we feel this is the right building to build there. We're not talking about design review. We're not talking about anything like that. This is just two people arguing about whether or not this is a basement or not a basement.
Right. What is the, what section of the zoning bylaw is it that the definitions are in?
Section 10.
Thank you. Section 10. Okay, so there it is.
In order, if this board wants to look at this, then we would have to request the drawings from the building department in order to measure.
Would we just request the results from the professional who measures the basement?
Well, we would request them from the building commissioner, who would tell us, I made this measurement, which is why I have decided that it's a cellar, not a basement. So that's the professional we would ask, and the building commissioner would say,
All right, well, let me just.
This
go
is why I gave them the permit, because I believe this is a cellar and not a basement. So that's why I would personally think that this is not something that the board really needs to get into.
Yeah, maybe you're right, Dia.
We have had a few in the past. There have been a couple of times that the board has taken a vote on a building permit. Typically, when we last did this, it was about something which was, I think, a more significant issue, and it's something which wasn't a technical issue. So I think that that's where this board could make a decision as to whether they think this is just a technical issue or whether there's some other issue involved here that we think it's important to.
Well, the technicality of it is in the definitions. It says that a basement is that part of a building partly underground, but having more than 1/2 of its entire wall area above the level of the adjoining ground. And so it's a matter of looking at each elevation and taking an area takeoff, which I can do that in Adobe Acrobat Pro if you want me to.
I personally see no, I don't think this is a matter this board needs to concern itself with. Because we're not, our whatever we say, we don't have, we're not professionals at measuring blueprints, so.
I'm completely an amateur. So is it a choice on the part of the planning board to decline to prepare a recommendation?
We are an advisory board. We can choose not to give advice and simply state that this is not something which the planning board feels comfortable providing advice on, because we can certainly say that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say that given the staffing conditions in the planning department, the planning board,
we don't even have to go that far.
we'll just say the planning board voted to make no recommendation.
We can actually take a vote. We can choose to do nothing. We don't have to do anything on this. But if we want to let the ZBA know that we've chosen not to, we can simply write a letter to the ZBA and say the planning board took no action.
Okay.
So if that's okay with the rest of the board, I will ask, is there a motion? And if there's no motion, then we just move on.
Well, I'll say I make a motion that the planning board take no action on this petition 3995.
And is there a second? So we are taking no action on a motion to take no action.
Well, so
This is
I'm
metaphysics.
fascinated by the hesitation, because it says that in the minds of our board members that this is actually something that they want to have a say in.
It sounds
Or
like
is the inaction itself a second?
we don't have to vote to take no action. We can simply say,
So I'm just gonna say I'm gonna recuse myself from the no action because I've recused myself from this particular lot before.
Oh, you
That's-
did.
that's
That's
where I
right.
stand. That's why I'm not saying anything.
okay, sorry, I Ching has, yes, and now I remember, you did recuse yourself last time. We can simply move on.
Well, I mean, the reason that I would not move on is because I like to test our definitions and make sure that our definitions are correct. And if the definition, if this doesn't pan out, if the amount of walls is that's exposed to air.
But well, you have a motion on the table, which is,
All right.
you have a motion which is to take no action. There is no second, as far as I know. So is there another motion? on
Yes,
the-
I shall withdraw my motion,
Well, you don't have to. It's kind of,
but I did.
okay, so is there another motion on this? And I am seeing no enthusiasm for another motion, so I think the board has decided not to take an action. So we will note that to the ZBA and let us move on.
Okay, so there will be a memo to the ZBA.
Just saying there's no action. So it's now 8:09.
So that memo is an example of something that the interim planner can do.
It has always been a memo by the clerk.
By the clerk, okay.
Now,
That's
other
me.
towns do actually have the planner do that, but historically, it has always been the clerk of the board who writes these memos.
Right, and so I
Okay,
can get that out in,
right.
in short order, not a problem.
Yeah.
Nick, does that address?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry for my interruption. I was just kind of thinking out loud in our predicament regarding our staffing situation.
No, that's a great question, Nick, and I would hope that if we had more people in the planning department, they would do that. But yeah.
So I have no further desire to spend more time on that point.
Okay. So let's move on to we have liaisons, and I just realized that I think we forgot to include the list of liaisons in our packet, although they were in our packet, I believe, last week.
I might be able to pull it up on my computer.
So for those,
Yep, here it is.
you got to it faster than I Ching, or maybe I Ching got to
You
it.
want, I don't think it was packet.
You
Do
can
want
do
me-
it. You can do it if you want.
Oh, good. Okay, go ahead, I Ching.
Oh, no, you can do it.
Oh, I can do it. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you
So
have the
going back
power.
to Zoom and clicking on share. And I'm going to share. I have too many things open. Hang on, sorry. The reason I didn't even know we were going into the meeting is because I lost track of time.
So you're new on the block, so so the idea is that the planning board tries to reach out to other boards, and everyone gets associated with one or several boards too, and sometimes as a liaison, you might attend meetings, or you might just keep in contact with the chair, or things like that. So we do have some particular things that we are required to be on. And so there's in this there's on this document, you'll see where it says representative, and that is actually we are actually required to vote in. We are a voting member of that board. Otherwise, they're just we keep in touch. So for instance, we have to have someone on the committee on names, and that's for people who that's for naming of streets. We actually have someone on the housing partnership board. It turns out that we have someone on the street tree committee, and someone on the capital planning. So I think those are at least 4 boards where we are voting. We have a voting member on that board. And can you scroll up, please, Sally?
I know I'm such a bad sharer.
It's a screenshot of a previous meeting with Brian Zakelli in it. And
Yeah, no,
That
that's
might be
that's bizarre. Okay, so thank you for explaining why I couldn't.
That is actually kind of amusing.
It was a ghostly experience, wasn't it? I'm
Yes,
sorry.
it's a
Thank
flash
you.
from the past.
Let me just see. Maybe I don't have it.
So currently, let's deal with the representatives months. We have the capital planning. We have committee on names. We have housing partnership. We have trees. And so I have been on capital planning, and capital planning is fairly intensive. It starts up about midsummer, or I should say late summer. We start to meet. This is all of the departments and such. They get together and they submit requests for capital funds, and you can get, you'll get to look at maybe 30 or 40 different requests. There are presentations. It's pretty intensive leading up to fall town meeting. It is an incredibly educational position to be, or committee to be on. You truly understand the depths of the need for more funding for capital projects. So, I was on it last year. You essentially really want to be on there a full year, because you start in the fall, you go through fall town meeting, then they pick up again.
Thank you.
Town meeting.
Thank
Okay.
you, I Ching.
Okay, so is there someone who would like to be on capital planning? A lot of enthusiasm out there.
Well, so here's the thing, of course, that I'm willing to do it, Diab, just to bail you out.
No, I first of all, let's see if someone has a real desire to be on it.
Yeah, I would like to hear that.
Yeah, I don't want to take this away from you if you want it. I mean, I think it's important that we split these up. But I am willing
Let's
to,
circle back to that one.
okay. The committee on names is a pretty simple, I mean, they only meet when we get new names, which is very rarely. So if someone really feels that they want to be able to talk about names, then I think that's
Is that
It's like if they're naming like the Saltonstall Fountain.
how needed is that? How
I don't think it meets like once every 3 years, I think. But it's a requirement. This board has to provide someone.
who's on there now?
Yeah.
Who is on there now?
Oh, okay. I mean, I suppose I could put my name on that one.
Okay, so
Great.
so committee on names is Nick.
And I'm also on the historical commission, and I do attend those meetings every month. So I've been active in that, and I can continue to do that.
Okay, so you want to continue to be on historical. Okay, so we've got names and historical commission.
So
So
we skipped the Climate Action Advisory Committee.
no, I still would like to go back and just deal with the 4 representatives where we are.
Oh, I see. Okay, good. Thank you.
So the next one is, nobody wanted to do capital planning yet. So I've been on Housing Partnership Board for, I think, 6 years or so. I think it's time I stepped off of there. I think it's an important committee, but I really think that I think that the planning board should cycle through these on a more frequent basis. So would someone like to be on the Housing Partnership Board? They meet about once a month.
I think that's interesting to me. I think I might be interested in
Okay.
that.
So I Ching will take Housing Partnership. And they are meeting next week, I believe, to talk about things. So
That's great, I Ching.
thank you much. We have trees, the street tree committee. And although it says Brian Zakelli there, I think I bring the planner has to be on there regardless, but we also have one of the planning board as a voting member. So
And just, do you have a point that the Street Tree Committee and the Tree Working Group are proposed to, the Tree Working Group is proposed to be the source of revitalizing the permanent Street Tree Committee. So they're working on getting a proposal to the select board to do that. And on the permanent Street Tree Committee, there is a planning board person.
Yes. So we do need to have someone on that board as a voting member. The Street Tree Committee the permanent Street Tree Committee has not really been active over the last many years. It's hopefully going to be more active. So is there someone who would like to?
I mean, I'm so familiar with it from Concom. I'm happy to hop on there. David Miller talked about it quite a bit.
Okay, so Carrie is on our Street Tree Committee. And
I Ching, are you typing?
I am. I'm trying to.
You spelled your name wrong.
I did?
I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we now have, so I'm happy to continue doing capital. It doesn't, that's, we can always change. Capital doesn't start up until, like I said, until August or so. So maybe earlier, but if you feel the need to be in capital, we can do it then. Let's take a look at the other liaisons. So we have, so we've got Concom, Sally. So again, Concom liaison, I don't, it's been there's not a lot that really.
Well, you know what else? They meet when we meet.
Yeah, they meet when we meet. And to be honest, Brian used to be, he would talk to, Elaine, thank you. So that was sort of like, since their offices were right next to each other, so we didn't really have the Council on Aging. That's an important one, but it's not one I think that the planning board member has to fill. Brian did a lot of work with the Council on Aging.
And the Council on Aging received a presentation from Rich Rowan about the Master Plan Implementation Committee and was very receptive and enthusiastic. So
yes.
It might be that we could nominate our MPIC acting chair, or
Well, we don't even have MPIC on here because we're not supposed to be on MPIC.
right, but we could ask, well, I'm volunteering people, that's rude.
Well, why don't we just keep going? So so Council on Aging, I think that's not something that has to be dealt with immediately. So I think design review is something. Sally, do you want to continue to be your liaison?
Well, I haven't been going to the meetings, and I don't know, maybe Nick, that's a really big alignment with historic, if you want to.
How often are those meetings? I mean, I guess.
I think it's monthly. I don't know.
But you haven't been going to all of them. I mean, what's the real commitment there?
Well, you don't have to go to the meeting. The idea is that you could have conversations to understand their concerns.
Right.
So it's a liaison.
Okay.
It's not, I mean, the key thing is we are not voting members. We are flies on the wall at these meetings.
Right.
Right. So, because it's the other group, we're just there to make sure that we it's a conduit for information going both ways. So you don't have to be at each one.
Okay.
I mean, I'm ready. Go ahead, Nick.
So yeah, it's just you represent us to them in terms of, here's what we're talking about, and if there are concerns, you bring them back to us. I Ching, are you still interested?
PBC, I really haven't been going to the meetings, but my husband is on it, and so I kind of hear it.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Osmosis.
Yeah.
What committee is that?
So it's the Educational Facility Planning Building Committee.
Oh, PBC. Okay.
So what they do is they take care of the buildings that the school committee owns, which is a lot.
And they get very involved in new building plans, right?
Yeah. So they're very involved in the new school at oh my gosh.
Lynch.
Thank you, Lynch.
It's okay. And hopefully post haste Morocco.
Yep.
So if you're happy in that sort of osmosis role, field management rarely meets. We don't need to appoint someone. FinCom, to be honest, I'm not sure what the role is. FinCom meets. The planning board member the chair shows up. It's the chair who shows up and talks budget. So I think I should remain me as the chair. So we'll keep that. Nick, you are on historic. Local, then I Ching is Housing Partnership Board. Just going down the list. Local Historic District. I don't know what's happening with the Sims. That's really
Well, the last thing I heard that was happening was that there were a critical mass of homeowners in the designated district that were not interested in being in the district.
Well, I think what happened was that when Brian left, there was no one there to push it forward.
Maybe we leave it blank.
I think we leave it blank.
Yeah,
and
maybe for now.
I think maybe this is, since the problem is that this is supposed to be a select board thing. A local historic district has to come from the select board. And the historical commission can't push it forward. So, maybe this is something, Nick, you can figure out a way of moving the select board forward on there. I don't know.
Yeah. So what do you mean when you say the historical commission cannot move it forward?
It's a select board initiative. So it's really the select board which has to sit down and say, we're going to appoint a chair. We're going to appoint the people to the commission. And if the select board doesn't really light fire under the commission, nothing really happens. So the historical commission, Jack the Menage explained it to me once, and I'll get it wrong. They can't take on the role as chair and push it forward. So
I see.
So if this is something that the town wants to do, then and I think it's an important thing, we do have to move on a historical district somewhere.
And I think the last thing I heard was that there was at least one other historic district that might have more latent momentum than Sims Corner.
Oh, really? Okay.
The Wedgemere historic neighborhood.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
But I think this is one of those things that we could just put on hold to the point that you made, or someone made earlier, that we've got so much on our plate and we're missing.
Yeah, I think we have to decide what our two lists, what we have to do now, what we have to do before we hire a planner, and what we can do after we hire a planner.
Priority A and priority B?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, this is, it's a low priority.
Well,
yeah.
I mean,
I think that's a good point. It's just that, if this isn't, one of the things the planning board has always said is that we are interested in using historic districts to help preserve. And there doesn't seem to be a heck of a lot of motion. I mean, we did when we had our part-time planner way back when, what she did is she went down, we trying to do a historic district in the center business district. And there was a lot of effort and it didn't seem to go very far. So.
Right, again, it was about the owners, and the owners don't live in town and they didn't want their buildings restricted.
Well, it's also.
They're restricted anyway.
Yeah, but this town prides itself on its historic buildings, and yet it doesn't have a single historic district.
mm-hmm.
And
Nick, would you be willing to at least
11.
take on the research of this?
In theory, yes. I'm interested in helping with the MBTA 3A sort of before I do that, and getting. I think the reason I bring it up is also I need to find an excuse to engage with the subject matter in a way that will allow me to get comfortable. So helping out with it is probably the way to do it.
Well, MBT 3A is going to be coming before the board very shortly because.
A week from now.
Yeah, so I mean the whole.
I'm hoping I can kind of pour over any maps or maps that we sent over to Jennifer Goldson or something like that I can pour over and start to get my feet get my curiosity whetted and.
Well, the whole board is going to have to do that. So we're going to get the stuff that. Why don't we have our discussion on 3A next week? We're going to get, I mean, this is something where the group that's formed is the technical group just to start working on the possibilities, and nothing happens until this board makes a decision, and this board has to make a decision on bonk, I guess.
Right, but I just know that I'm going to need time. So
that's one of the reasons, Nick, I sent out all of that information. Where do you go to read up on MBTA 3A? That's the best thing to do, is to go and read up on everything from the state. There's a lot of information the state has put out. Understand how local zoning works. The state put out some draft zoning, and what's really important about the draft zoning is that it really lays out the rules by what you can and cannot put into your zoning. And those are the things we have to grapple with. I think that's most important, is to understand what is, it's not simply which areas are we have to put,
Right.
but
No,
what.
no, I get that. I get that. I'm just, I wanted to know what happened with the map that I think Carrie Layton was going to work on over the weekend.
Yeah, it got sent to, I gave it to our consultants this
Okay,
morning.
because I'd like to see the map. I'd like to see it. I'd like to start there because that's the way I'm going to get my teeth into this thing.
Well, I highly, sure, but I really recommend this board has to read the actual guidelines. Because when we're looking at zoning, we have to understand the guidelines and what's legal.
Right.
So where the actual parcels go is important, but it's what goes into law in terms of the bylaw and gets passed by town meeting in terms of the design requirements. If we have design review, what's actually permissible in design requirements?
Well,
All
right.
of these things are.
Right, I'm not super. Well, I think we're going to have the conversation, but I'm visual, so I need to start with with the maps.
Yep. So anyway, let's skip down here. MBTA advisory group. Sally, I don't even know if that.
I'm not, no, you can take me off that. The MBTA advisory group was about the, well, that's not the 3A.
No,
That's
no,
one
it
about
was-
the station. But I'm sorry, I Ching?
It was a train station, isn't it?
Yes,
It's the renovation.
yeah, and I don't need to be on that committee.
Okay.
Or
So
liaison too.
there is an open space and recreation committee, but I don't know if they meet. I know nothing about that. So, school committee, I Ching, you want to still be
I
on that
really haven't been going to the meetings, and I think I was on it because there weren't that many people with children in the school system, but there are now. So if you guys are interested.
one? Well, we can.
Open space, you can put me in for open space and recreation. I wouldn't assume that it's going to stay stale because David Miller has a big agenda for all the open spaces and recreation. So you can leave me there. I'll do all the outdoor stuff.
I mean, I don't even know when that group meets. Or
They don't, it's not so much that I think they have a regular meetings. I just think the Concom is trying to move some momentum in that direction. So
Yeah.
when it sort of perks up, I'll be there.
okay,
I think that's
good.
wonderful, Carrie.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
great.
So I Ching, if you don't want to be on schools committee, then anybody who has kids. But I don't.
People's kids are really tapped out for time.
It's also
What
one of
about the people who know children?
Well, I don't know.
Who care about children.
Yeah,
We all care about
who
children.
were once.
I'll stay on it if nobody wants to, but I am not doing very much with it.
Okay.
That's all right.
Well, it's great to put your name there, and what we can do is loop back, maybe not in this meeting, but to talk about what it means to be a liaison, and it might be on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah. I think it's yeah.
Great.
So I'll say on select board, I think the chair has to be the liaison to the select board. That's easy. Street tree committee, we've got Carrie on there. Tree working group.
You can take me off because I think it's going away.
Well, I hope not, but I
Well, the
don't.
tree working group's gonna morph is the word.
Yes, but somebody has to be on the tree group and working group to help as it turns from caterpillar into butterfly. So I don't,
Well-
I haven't been really.
I Ching, you can keep me on then, I'm sorry.
You can take me off just because of time constraints.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
it's like I do have a half a bookshelf of stuff about it, so.
Yeah. ZBA. So the ZBA one is, when I was, this is a long time ago, when I was ZBA liaison, I actually did go to ZBA meetings, which I thought was fascinating. I thought it was really intriguing.
Well, that's why I had my name on there, because they are fascinating. My problem is that they go till like 11:15 at night.
Yes, and I don't think
Plus,
that,
they are in person only and no recording, so it's
yeah,
really
that's a problem, yeah. So,
You can keep me on there, and I'll keep this list in front of me and remind myself that I'm supposed to go.
you have to go. It's
Yeah.
again,
But do take me off climate action, because I don't need to
we
be
have
there.
climate, oh, we do have, I'm sorry, we skipped over climate action.
We did.
I'm sorry, I missed that. So again, this is someone who just, you know, I think I went to climate action for a little bit. I can't recall. They're a good group of people. They meet once a month. And again, it's just a question of reaching out and seeing what's going on. I don't know who's.
I have a good relationship with Ken Pruitt and Ruth, so I'm happy to, I can't promise how many meetings I'm gonna make, but I'm happy to keep those lines of communication open and pop in when they need me.
Okay,
And
excellent.
one thing I noticed is not on this is the Disability Access Committee, and we don't, because I don't know exactly what liaisons do. And we've been making more of an attempt to engage them in our work to positive outcomes. So I don't know if we need a liaison, we just need to be mindful of
Well, we can,
soliciting their input.
yeah, maybe, I mean, I think
Yeah.
having him on this list is important, but not if we only look at this list once or twice a year to remind ourselves, so.
Well,
Let's leave that to our next town planner.
yeah.
Okay. So we're done.
No, we have to go back to Concom and
Oh,
Carrie, did you say you would do Concom?
I'm happy to do Concom, but I will just put out there that they love you, Sally.
They love me?
They absolutely love you. So I
Well,
might
I never
be
go to
like-
their meetings because it's right when
I know no one will be able to go to their meetings. They just really appreciate the work that you do, making sure that their interests are protected on the
Well,
planning.
you can
board.
put me
So
on just for the love, as long as
Yeah,
I
that sounds
can't do
good.
2 meetings at once. I'm never gonna.
I'm
put
happy to
down
take
love.
it from you because it's on theme with the rest of the things, but I will convey their appreciation at least.
And I'll channel your outdoor spirit.
yeah, I don't know, Carrie, you're stealing all the good outdoorsy stuff from the rest of us.
Well, no, she
Strategic
just gave me
maneuver.
one.
It's just what I'm the most familiar with recently. So,
Yeah.
Well,
and I'm happy to take Concom. I just wanted to make the point that they will be disappointed to get me back in place of you.
so the one thing that we haven't put on here, and that's the Master Plan Implementation Committee.
Yes.
And nominally, the town planner is supposed to be the one leading the effort. And the idea was that they would be, they would go off and do their stuff, and they might hear from the planning board for guidance. But the idea was that they would be, residents representing the town. But we don't have a town planner, and we do have a number of interested people who are doing good work. So I think it would be useful if the board, if we sort of rotated through. So we would have, what's happened in the past is Sally and I were there and leading the discussion, which I think has worked out well. But because this is a planning board initiative, the master plan, I think it would be useful if we sort of set up a schedule where, someone from the planning board, we would have sort of overlapping meetings. So you would go to maybe 2 meetings in a row, they would meet once a month. And so then we would stagger it so that everyone would be able to talk to the people who are trying to work on the implementation. So is that an idea that people are interested in?
Well, so my experience of these meetings is that they're in a very formative stage. They're trying to figure out how to make key connections with what's referred to in the master plan as responsible parties. And they're trying to work on how to define metrics for every goal. And I don't know how it works to rotate. unless you brief your person that you're rotating to.
Well, that's where if we overlapped a bit. I mean, I think it's my, this is an initiative of the board. It's an important multi-year initiative. And we need to make sure that the knowledge of what's going on pervades the board. And I think it's important to the people on the master plan committee that the board shows up so they know how important they are to this process. And so I understand what you're saying, Sally, but I'm also thinking in terms of spreading the load a bit.
Yes.
And also making sure that, one of the things about sustainability and redundancy in the board is that more than a couple of people have the knowledge of what's going on. And so that's something that I would love to see, that, that knowledge is more prevalent amongst board members. So, and what's kind of funny is Carrie, way back when, was actually on the master plan study. What's the study?
All true.
Yeah, so Carrie is like old timer on this. So, but there's actually some knowledge that's come back to the board. But this is something we can discuss. I really
Well,
would.
maybe Carrie and I would share it.
That's not a bad idea. I do sort of feel like it's always on my mind here anyway. I just like, how many meetings can we make it to? So
Right. So
we can divide the workload. I would be thrilled to keep the conversation going because I think it's so important.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to continue with that. They're a great bunch of people. Rich Rohand is doing an awful lot of work, and a really,
he really is.
And we've gotten, we have our youth rep, Dylan Ketterer, who's been doing some great work. So, I mean, these are people who really have the fire lit. So
Can we write down that it would be rotating between Carrie, Diab, and Sally?
Sure.
And I can let Rich know so he can be sure to copy each of us.
Yeah,
So,
we just have to be careful that, now that we have 3 members of the planning board, the open meeting law. So let's just be cognizant that
let's put or instead of slash, Diab or Sally or Carrie. And then there's no
we'll just
implication of open meeting violation.
Well, it's just something that we have to make sure that we don't discuss this amongst us, that we just discuss this at meetings. So that's all. But any emails, it's just the emails that get sent out. We just have to be careful that we don't respond to them and have policy discussions when.
Right, other than just logistics, like the meeting got moved to Thursday.
Yep.
So the AD working group, are we going to stay on that together, I Ching?
I was trying to bow out, but you keep pulling me back in.
Right. Well, so
I'm fine.
I'm so grateful that you have graphic abilities and can work on that little trifold brochure.
I think that as soon as this goes through to the building department, I think that I know you've taken on the task of getting to the building department, the form and such. I think that's pretty much the end of really your role, if you'd like it that way.
Well, except that she offered to make the trifold brochure that I made in Word something more attractive.
That's just a week or two more, so.
Okay, but we'll take you off and be honorary member. Okay, I think we have
wow.
We've got our liaisons. I think that it's now time to switch to the next section, which is 825. Okay, that took a little longer.
Do we still need to vote? Are we going to fit time in to vote on the town planner and the interim town planner?
Well, we voted on the town planner in order to, so yes, I think we have to, so what we have in front of us are that's on the agenda, but obviously we have to do that too, Nick, is that we have to review if there are any articles on town meeting that the planning board wants to take a position on, which is why you got all of the town meeting articles are in front of you. I think that'll be really quick. We have to go over the presentations that the planning board's presentation, because we have to vote on accepting that because the town moderator wants that to be signed off by the board. And then edits on the presentations for the 2 articles. And then the assistant town planner or the interim town planner. So those are the 4 things that we have to comment. I think that's 4. So why don't we deal with the town planner, the interim town planner right now in terms of how do we want to go forward?
Can I
yeah.
craft a motion?
You have the power to do so.
Okay, so I would move that the planning board would request of the town manager that monies be made available to pay for a part-time interim.
For an interim, not necessarily part-time. Just whatever time.
Okay, so for an interim planner, thank you, Nick.
Right.
That we would relay to the town manager a request that monies be made available to hire an interim town planner until such time as a permanent town planner can be found.
Okay, so that's step 1. Is there a second to that motion?
I second it.
Okay, so yeah, let's vote on it. I Ching,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Sally,
Aye.
and Diep says aye as well. Okay, so that's the easy part. Someone needs to write up duties.
So the duties, if I share screen again, where's the share screen thing? It went away. Zoom, share. I guess maybe this is it. I think this is it. Yeah. So this is the performance goals that went with the job posting. And it's got like 11. Oh, I see. So there's current. There's 14 things in the keep on top of it pile or list, and then there's the looking ahead, don't forget about it list, which has another.
To the extent that we have this done, I mean, I don't know if we need to do the don't forget about part, but we have it done. And I guess we could say this is it to the extent that they're able to do it. And I mean, unless we identify specific items that we know they're not going to be able to do.
Well, why don't we just look at
we you want me to scroll up?
Well, just start from the bottom where we were, because that's a good part to start. So we want help with CBD petitions. Those are coming in. I just had to deal with one today or from last week.
Mm-hmm.
Subdivision approvals, I doubt that we'll have any, but let's put that on there. So that's a subdivision approval. MBTA 3A, that's the next one.
Is that number 8?
No, I'm sorry. Number 8 is we have Waterfield lot is coming up. So that is a multifamily, that's a large project.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's scroll up.
Just with regards to this document where it says awaiting completion of litigation, 654 and 735 Main Street have both been released as a green light for construction.
And we don't have to do anything with those. So the only thing on this list that we care about is the Waterfield lot.
Well, we care about 87, 89.
It's not our, yes.
Oh, it's the ZBA, I see. Okay,
we're not on the hook for that. So we're SPGA for Waterfield. So that's important. So when we scroll up.
Okay. And then we get to.
So Holton, Swanton Cross, that is not on their list of things to do. North Main Street, that's not on their list. MBTA 3A, we need someone to do technical work on that. And so that's not making policy, but it's technical work in terms of liaising with the consultants, which takes a lot of time. There's a meeting with CHAPA has a meeting every couple of weeks to talk about how to do outreach to communities. So that's where normally our planner would go, but Sally and I have been going to that. There's the technical group working in town, which is composed of Jen Goldson's team, town manager. I don't know if engineering's involved, I can forget, but that's one that we're talking about. So this would be, so that would be technical support for 3A, okay?
And I want to remind us all that if it wasn't for Brian Manter, Brian Zakeli would not have been able to do the compliance spreadsheet, which is like this wide.
Yeah.
So you need Brian Manter.
And I, this is where, we're kind of, because of open meeting law, we can't really have more than 2 members of the board at any of these meetings, or else we have to declare them as public meetings, which is really difficult when you're trying to pull together all of these technical consultants and they're not actually talking policy. It's just, so it's one of these things where if we had a town planner, Sally and I would not be going to these meetings. But since we don't, we're doing that technical support. So when you hear us go to these meetings, it's not like we're trying to keep it secret. It's just that open meeting law really makes it difficult when these people are sitting and talking about model compliance. It's not a policy issue. But anyway.
Well,
so,
and the last meeting, to your point, Diab, was that almost everybody in what is referred to as the cohorts that we are part of, which is 10 towns that have a similar MBTA profile as we do, all are struggling with the outreach to the community to explain
and Winchester was the only town everyone else was from their planning department. Literally, we're the only ones who did not have. Everyone else was a professional planner at the meeting except for us. So we don't have to do transportation master plan. We don't have to do ADU bylaw. We don't have to support the tree working group. We don't have to support master plan. So those are done with the project. So let's scroll up the other way. We're done with all of these.
Right. Okay, let me go back. Hold on. I missed the upper section.
Yeah, no, the reason why those are those projects are the ones that really are boots on the ground.
This is the grit of the job.
Yeah. So
regular contact with downtown departments.
So I think the key thing there will be building department. But again, I don't expect that this interim planner is going to dive into our zoning law and be able to explain it better than the building department already does.
Right. They may not be able to get up to speed on everything.
Yeah.
But that, we still have to, we have to engage with them.
Yeah. But it's sort of like, I think that meeting with the other boards, I don't think that's possible because again, they don't have the background. I think that
Nick mentioned the idea that somebody who was a retired planner would be grateful to re-engage with the field that they loved. And so that would be a senior person who would be pretty good at reading the zoning bylaw. And you see where it says expertise and advice. It would be great to get a rock star retired planner come in and
I think I heard that here, but I certainly do support that.
I think that there's a my concern is that they will not be able to get in depth into all of this.
I know.
I mean, I don't know that, let me put it this way. as much as I hate to say it, I think the DRC and the Historical Commission can limp along without one for the nonce. And because they're, you know, they have a lot of expertise and experience on those boards. So I'm really, really worried about these big projects that are coming up that take a lot of time. And that's, you know, dealing with people from the CBD, dealing with, you know, the Waterfield one scares me. It's just a really big project and it is going to come up.
So what on the Waterfield one, if I go down here, it says, where did I see it? It was way down here. So permit application review and approvals. So
Mhm.
that's what the planner, the interim planner would be doing, is reviewing the application.
So Waterfield's going to come in, they're going to be applying for a special permit or whatever the PUD is. So we get to look at all of those things. We have to look at, you know, there's just it's not the building department at that point, but we need someone to lead us through all of the different parts of the zoning as it applies to make sure it's compliant and that we understand. I mean, it's part of its design. We're going to talk about that. And having someone who's, you know, is able to read through all of the blueprints, understand what they say, let us know if there are issues, all of those things. So
this starts to get to the qualifications of this interim planner.
yeah. So if we're happy with what I can do is we can write
Can
up.
we just make the, I know you said that the DRC and historic can limp along. Let's just make that informal. Let's not mess with the language.
I'm just, Nick, I'm not even we're not going to change this language whatsoever.
Okay.
Is we're coming up with, when we put out a posting, we want to let these people know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is only for the interim planner.
Right.
We're just, this is a crisis mode interim planner. What is the,
So I go to number 1, Diab, staffing meetings, supporting the board, fostering good relations.
I don't even think we
conducting
foster
research
good
studies.
relations. I think we just staff the board. I mean, I think there's again.
Well, so that's a big one because Suzanne right now, well, Suzanne and Diab are scrambling every week to know, did we do this? It has to get done. Did we post it? Did we get the link? Did we do the?
We need to post an agenda for next week's meeting tomorrow. But yeah, that's what Wednesdays are getting an agenda together day. So so number 1 is important. So staffing the board. And I'm really looking at the clock now because we do have to talk about our presentation.
Well, they're not going to identify and recommend zoning bylaw revisions as they pertain because
why don't I make this suggestion? We've identified 4 big ones: CBD petition, subdivision approval, Waterfield, MBTA 3A, working with the building department. Then we'll just take the important ones, which is staffing the board. And I don't know if we're going to have them appear at our evening meetings. I mean, this is, again, we're bringing someone up to speed really quickly. We don't want them to spend all of their time coming up to speed. We want them to spend their time doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think all the rest of this stuff is, we're not going to ask them to do.
Yeah.
It's just, there's
managing the budget, making presentations to boards.
None of that is what we need for crisis mode.
Grant applications.
Yep. So
working groups.
Yeah. So this is all, I think we're done. I think we have a short, what I'll do is I'll write something up. I'll try to get it out by the end of the week. I'll send it to you folks. You can give me some cleanup on that. We'll come up with something, and let's try to get, I'll talk to the town manager, I'll talk to Beth, find out what the money situation is like, and see how soon we can get this interim position posted. Hopefully by the beginning of next week, we'll see.
Okay.
So, let us very quickly go through, and I'm gonna take over screen share so that I can move.
Thank you.
So I'm just gonna show you my whole screen. Okay, so. And luckily for this, I think we're gonna deal with our minutes later. Okay, so this is the list of articles that are going to be going before town meeting. So the question is, hopefully you've had a chance to read the motion booklet. Which one of these do we have something to say? So I presume numbers 3, 4, and 5 are important to this board. I do not see anything else which really the board has any particular interest in, other than FY24 budget.
Right. Well,
And
and also, so number 11 is where you hear the capital planning report, but did I hear you say earlier that they do all their deciding in the fall?
there's pretty much, yeah, so there's it's kind of like we get a chunk of money and we spend it in the fall, and then we have more money we spend in the spring.
Okay,
So all the number 12, whoops, I'm sorry. Number 11 is the report, which is a lead up to the articles. So all of these appropriate monies,
I see.
all capital planning projects.
Okay,
So the board really typically doesn't have an opinion on capital planning projects.
no,
So
Well, so to that point, Deb, I know that the planning board wants, all 5 of us want to be there when we have our what are they called? Articles on the floor. But then when you get to the rest of it,
well, if you're not a town meeting member, then there's really no need for you to be there. I think we may want to discuss, and we won't have to worry about this until early May, which is when we have to talk about the budget, is we have to see what FinCom comes out for our budget. And then we may have to discuss how we react to what FinCom has proposed for the planning board's budget.
so they're having a hearing on the 25th of,
Yes.
excuse me, the 26th. It's their public hearing about the fiscal 25 budget, and the Zoom link hasn't been sent yet, as far as I know, but I think that everybody on the planning board should listen to that to understand what are the underlying conditions.
Right. But in terms of what we need to do before next week,
Yeah,
which is when town meeting starts, the
Yeah.
question is, does the board feel like there's anything other than our own articles and the budget that we wish to comment on?
I didn't see anything.
I
Okay,
don't see anything
I don't
either.
either.
okay. And
Wait, Carrie.
I concur. Carrie?
Nope.
Okay,
Okay, good. So let us move on. And so what we're going to move on to now is the planning board's presentation, which is a work in progress. And
it's
so
Article 3.
this is Article 3. So what I've got is, and you can see my screen right now, and I'll try to make this bigger. I don't know why it's so tiny. That's a little too big, I think.
Mhm.
Hold on one sec, folks, as I try to get rid of some windows here. Zoom is in the way. Okay, so let's get rid of that. Oh, shoot, come on. Optimal view. Is that optimal? Okay, so
Oh,
there's the
that's-
fancy front
that's-
page.
Yeah,
Okay, so why is it only showing the top? Okay. No,
go to like 50% or
well,
100.
I don't
100.
understand why it's just,
How
it's,
about page width?
Yeah, no, it's just, it wants to show only the bottom half, so I'll just say entire page. There we go. Okay. So, so there's first page, pretty picture. This is the standard sort of thank you. I put Suzanne Gill's name in shadowed and bolded because she's really been an amazing help.
I would add master plan implementation committee to this.
They're in there. I just,
Oh, there they are. Thank
yep,
you.
they're just
Oh,
not
that's the two
room for all
columns.
the
I see.
letters.
Okay. Yep.
So then there's a question of what do we tell town meeting? So I'm just going to go through this quickly and then we can go back so you get the 30,000 foot view. So status of the planning department indicating the status of not getting a planner, what the impact has been, a plea for we need an assistant planner for redundancy, etc. Again, we're going to come back to this. What does the planning board do, which is perhaps for a lot of non-meeting members, they don't understand that. So this is a little too many words. What do? We monitor needs, etc. Then what the town planner does. Oh, that's really tiny. Then jumping into a very quick description of what we are supposed to report to town meeting on what's happening in land use. And so these are the big developments that are out there. And the stuff in yellow is something that's changed since our last meeting. I like to throw in something to let people understand something about the housing market. And I pulled this off of apartmenthomeliving.com, which is an indication of rental costs in Winchester. Talking about, now this is where sort of talking about our current projects, North Main Street, Holton Swanton Cross, MBTA. Now in the fall, I did a lot of, well, not a lot, but about a third of the presentation last fall was about this. And it went into, what does by right mean and all that other stuff. So I'm not going to go into that again. So that was the highlight, the 30,000 foot look. So why don't we go back to the start and let's hear this is a real working meeting tonight on this. I'm going to write down as much as I can and you'll give me guidance as to which direction we should go. And then we'll go from there. And unfortunately, I can't see you all right now. So you'll just have to pipe up and.
I'm just imagining if I was a town meeting member and I saw the last bullet, the immediate word is why. Did we not offer her enough money? What happened?
Okay.
So we have to be prepared to answer that question.
Okay, well, but with it,
she had another offer that she liked.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
exactly.
accepted another offer. I mean, I don't
think that we should accept it. Okay.
Accepted another offer.
Yeah, that precludes the question of why she didn't want this job. Helpful, thank you.
So why don't we step a little back and ask, is this flow of the report okay with people? Is there something that you would like to see that isn't in there? Do you think this is emphasizing something that shouldn't be emphasized?
I mean, isn't this really to just give the town meeting a sense of what we've been up to? So,
I think this is great. It's good detail, but town meeting is so long. I would cut out all the interviews they went through, and we did a thorough search. We interviewed a candidate. We loved her. She took another job.
Right.
Okay.
I agree, Carrie.
Okay, so search committee vetted candidates. We'll just get rid of this. Get rid of number 2.
And then maybe just add what's going on now, job opening, posting is still open.
So we're reposting the planner position, and we are pursuing an interim planner.
Okay.
I don't know if we can say that without talking to Beth.
Well, let me just put it in there,
Yeah, yeah.
and if it comes out, if it has to come out, it'll come out. So
Yeah, okay, good.
I'll just.
Well, we're pursuing it with Beth.
Yeah, so let's, if it's in red, that means that I will hopefully remember to take it out if it's not true.
Right.
Okay, so one of the things is that town meeting has never really seen, I mean, when we present our budget request for the assistant town planner, it's always been essentially removed from the budget before it gets to town meeting. And I think it's important that we let town meeting know what the impact has been of no town planner. And that we need redundancy. This is really our plea to say, town meeting, we want an assistant town planner. So anyway.
And you can add to this list where it says major initiatives, such as MBTA Section 3A and the Waterfield development. Those are the two big, giant.
Okay, that's should I just take the last one and merge it with the middle one?
Oh, I see. Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if you should be so humble about how you guys are doing this. The sub adequately seems really unnecessary.
As humble as I am, I don't like someone to put in public that I'm
No, I think it's just you're overly burdened for sure.
I think the
you're
thing
not doing it sub adequately.
well,
Yeah, get rid of that sub adequately.
the thing I want to put, whoops, come back here, you silly miss. The thing I don't want it to be, at some point we have to say that, yeah, we're trying to cover.
Oh, that's, yeah.
I get what you're doing.
Right,
Why
okay,
don't
so.
you just say at personal hardship?
Well, that comes
Uh,
slide, but I mean,
No, yeah. Oh.
I just want to say we're just barely. We need a planner. If we say we're doing okay, then they'll say, then you don't need a planner.
Yeah.
Right.
And I would say,
You
Yeah,
should put
okay.
like fire. You should put fire icons everywhere. Just everything's on fire.
Everything's on fire. Okay, I'll put fire icons. I mean, I go into a little in one of the later ones, but I mean, significant. So if there is language you can think of which indicates that, you know, we're not really meeting the requirements of town.
Well, what's another word for duties?
Pressing
Initiatives, or, you know, what are the main sort of tasks that you're taking on that are putting us at kind of a legal or a procedural crossroads?
Responsibilities.
Yeah, I mean,
it's pressing matters are being addressed.
On an ad hoc basis by the chair and vice chair.
Yeah,
I think
that.
And I think the word volunteer could be in there.
oh, that's
On a volunteer basis.
well. Let's let me just skip ahead really quickly
Okay.
where it does. I get a little personal here, where I do point out that we're volunteers and we used to have lives, but I can move that. I can combine these two slides as well, if that is appropriate.
I think so.
Yeah,
Maybe-
wherever you can condense. Town meeting fades fast.
Yes, I know.
Say,
Okay, so let us, I wish I could show you both of these at the same time, but I can't.
I think if you go to a view, never mind, I don't know how to do it.
I think go up the slide. I think you could say, where's that last line? I think you should say gaps this gap could have been eased if, kind of double cast the play here, right? Like if with an assistant could have helped with the cast. So please, like, I think that's where you want the line about we've asked for an assistant and we haven't had one, but that person could have been a paid backup for you guys during this search.
And the other thing that, Carrie, that I almost think you could layer onto that is there are a lot of open planner positions at various levels. Let's just say inside the 495 Beltway. And what would make it more attractive is if we could say to the candidates that not only do we want you to have a lot of experience, but we've worked it out that starting in September, the salary is covered for an assistant town planner, which is what I had proposed to the FinCom, and I don't know where we're at with that. But if we could get that, and then it would go to a 12-month salary with July 1st of 2025, right? That it would be a way to get someone to come here.
I think that's, so how about this, what I just wrote?
I think that's perfect, and that kind of knocks out the next slide.
Oh, you gotta be kidding. Okay. It's about, I think one of the things we do have to say that we have been asking. So, I mean, we could take out, let's, I think removing this, let me just put it in red because I like some of that language. But move some of this, perhaps, the redundancy part to the previous slide.
Well, it's right there.
Oh, it's right here. But this is a little more clinical, so I'll just dump it here. I will merge these. So yes, there is a little bit of duplication. So I will merge these into fewer lines. Let's get rid of this one because that was just me being a little.
Can we get someone to Photoshop you and Sally looking through a window at NCUF?
Oh, sure. Brian, your hand is up.
Oh, yes. No, I think you hit it on the last bullet that you revised. But another way to look at this is if the town had an assistant planner position, it would have been filled already with some of the candidates that you would have received for the planner position. It sounds like you got plenty of excellent candidates
at least
for
one
that
of
assistant
them.
role. Yeah, I'm sure that they would have been psyched to work for the town of Winchester in turn easing the burden that the planning board is facing right now.
Okay, so what do I say in the next slide? This is essentially the nuts and bolts of what hasn't happened.
Yeah.
So merge this with the first one. Too much information.
I think this is, I think the go to the middle slide. Is it the one above this one?
It should probably be the one that ends this part, right?
Yeah.
I wish that the first bullet could say the planning board has requested an assistant planner every year in its budget since 2016 or whatever it is.
Yeah, that requires, we have to ask Suzanne Gill if she can go through Brian's.
And that's very time consuming.
It might be easy. I will, again, this is something I can ask Suzanne to look at.
I think this one being
That's
short
perfect.
is good because it's eye catching. I think that's a good trio now. I think that's solid.
Okay, so we'll leave this as is, and then what do we do with this? The next slide, do we move that up?
Well,
No,
this
is a logical thing. We're missing someone. We've asked and asked for money, and then this is what we're sacrificing.
Okay.
If we can make it, I'll take words out of basically anywhere. So if we can shorten this.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I agree. This is just flow of thought at the moment. So
I don't think no one is hyphenated.
well,
did your computer tell you it is?
I always do it just so that I don't get yelled at by my computer.
Like I would just shorten them, like.
Yeah. We're just at this point. I just
don't want you to have to go back and look later. If we can edit now, let's do it.
Yeah. This is, I just want to, because I'm a little worried about the rest of it.
Okay, keep going.
Keep going.
So let's, because this is, So do we want to tell town meeting what the planning board does?
I think that is way too, if you can, nobody's gonna read this.
Oh, yeah, no one's,
Um,
yeah, I agree. This is a placeholder. If we want to talk about what the planning board does, we could start with a high level. Or do we want to talk about it at all?
Well, I think that the important point that town meeting might not know is that Massachusetts General Law, Section 70 says towns with residents greater than 10,000 people or something like that shall have a planning board, and the planning board shall, and then we can cut this stuff down to just a few just a short bullet list.
Wait, what if you go up a slide and make the things not happening? So go back to, so having a planning board is mandated by the state for any town with more than 10,000 residents. Without a planning person, none of this happened. Like, this sort of make it sort of like, this is what has to happen, that's being sacrificed, that we're trying to make happen because it has to by law.
And what's interesting is, I don't think, going back to the what we do slide, this is probably really important to parse out into digestible bullets, because I mean, I never knew what a town planner did. I
Well,
never knew what an urban planner was.
So that's the next section, which is what a planner does. And so the question, so how much of this is actually I just cut and pasted this.
Well, definitely studies of resources, possibilities, and needs is definitely an accurate statement.
We can get rid of this one.
Yeah.
Development of the
And
municipal.
make plans for the development.
So
With particularly for proper housing. I mean, you can just take it, yeah.
Yeah, we can take out this one because it's just giving a report, which this is. And then we have the master plan.
Is that in section 71 that I just saw you deleted?
Yeah, the 71 is just we give a report to town meeting.
Oh, I see, okay.
Oh, so
So-
this slide should be further up. There should be like the intro. Hello, we're here. This is what we do. Here's our pain point.
I think so too.
Okay, so we will move this, so.
Like,
So this is
Yeah.
what we do. We'll move it up to.
Yep.
Right there, and then we say, okay,
Yep.
so this is what
Okay.
we do. Write this in modern English.
right.
Do we really care about the master plan? I mean,
Yes, people want to know that we didn't do that and forget it.
Well,
no,
they also want to know that we did it partly
people
because.
know we did it.
No, but they need to know that we were told it must be done, and we did it because we're a conscientious town and we had a full-time planner and we got it done, and we had 1,000 residents participating in this state mandate.
And town meeting members who have moved since it was completed need to hear that word,
Which word?
master plan. They need to know to look for it and to look it up and that it had to happen and what the status is.
Okay, so so this gets turned into English. Or
Yep.
This gets turned into,
The second
Modern-
paragraph, really the main word that you should just bold is just master plan.
Make a master plan.
Just do that so that you remember, and people
Right.
will just, eyes will be drawn towards that. And then the first paragraph is just careful studies, I suppose.
Studies of resources, possibilities,
Yeah.
and needs and
Too much,
development.
just
okay, so
careful
I
studies.
as long as we're okay with this slide, I'll trim it down so it's
We're
just.
good.
Great.
Okay, so then we go to the next one.
Yep.
Then we go to this one.
Yep.
Then we go to the bold letter. This. And then this is the master plan coming at us, but if we don't need to talk about it at this point, then the next step was going to be, these are the nuts and bolts of what we do, which I think is at a lower level, saying we're not just at this top level thing. We actually think about all of these things.
So
So I
this
feel
could be like a
weird to
looking
break
forward
it up,
slide.
but
Like,
it's hard, it's weird to break up what we did at the top level with the laws and then break it up with all the personnel stuff and then go back to this.
Maybe that can go up with the other
Just-
one.
Yeah, it
Yes,
should go
yeah.
up.
I agree. I agree. It's just, originally it wasn't. Okay, so let me first do this. Let me take this slide. Let me not do that. Let me move it to here. Oh, come on, just get in there.
Yeah, no, this is good, because then it's sort of like, what does it, that's like, what does it do, 30,000 foot, and then what does it do, 10 foot?
Okay, so
good.
let me take, so this goes, where the heck does it go? It goes up to here. And then I think the next slide is this one. Yeah. And then this goes after that.
Yeah, this slide, well, I'll wait. It's getting confusing.
Okay, so let's go back to the top. So here's what we do. That's the 20,000 foot. This is the 5,000 foot.
Yep.
This is the 20,000 again. I wanted to put this, the slide that had the 3 bullets, I wanted it to be in front of the other bullet, the other slide.
Okay, so that goes up.
Yeah.
So
So
it's kind of this one and this one should get combined,
okay,
because I think they really kind of say the same thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
although, yeah, agree. Although I don't mind sort of saying, here are the statutes that,
Oh, yeah, I think what we can do is we're going to have fewer words on this slide.
Well, and the proper housing is a huge part of our job. And so don't edit out proper housing when you shorten the slide.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
the
really,
first one almost needs to be intact.
yeah, I mean, it's really interesting that housing is specifically called out. And that,
Special reference.
yeah, and it doesn't actually say an awful lot about economic development, which is interesting, even though we understand how important that is. So I can get rid of this because we're done. Okay, so this is what we do on the 10,000 foot level, or the 5,000. Then we go to this. Then we go to this. Then we say that. This is the things that aren't happening. And then I think we can get rid of this.
Get rid of the core tenets.
Well, I put them in there because I wasn't sure.
What's after this?
Then it goes into what the town planner does.
Yeah, that's in the wrong place.
Well, so the core tenets could be up at the top too, and instead of calling them tenets, these are the principles we
Well,
pursue.
I mean, these come straight out of the master plan.
Oh, I
Right,
know.
core principles of the master plan then.
Yeah, they're called core. They're called core something or other.
Themes.
Themes. I really don't like the word themes. But
I
that's
don't
okay.
either. It's very wishy-washy.
Well, it reminds me of that Christmas story movie where the kid has to write a theme. Sorry.
So, and it's connecting people to people and places.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, what the heck?
Connecting people and places.
I'll fix this.
Yeah.
So let's just make this red.
Okay.
Okay. So, you think this should go earlier?
It would go, I don't know how to tell because everything's really tiny, but it would go up with what do we do?
I think I could make this bigger. How's that?
Yeah. So what does it do?
Why is it so blurry? Okay.
Status. So what does it do? We do all the things that are on the left there. And I almost would put the
I think the themes come in right after here.
I do too.
Okay, so how do I move that? I think we take this and we move it right here. Okay. And then when we go into What does the town planner do? And one of the, so there's somewhere in here, and this is the language I've been trying, and people keep asking, why do we need consultants? What is it that, why can't we have our planner do what our consultants are doing? And there's a line that I want to put in somewhere, that the town planner is a generalist.
And relies on specialized expertise
Yeah,
of consultants for specific planning projects. Such as,
and we'll have to remove some words, but
well, such as area studies,
area studies and corridor revitalization.
yeah.
There are obviously too many words in here, but am I missing something?
So he represents the planning board. He interfaces with town residents. That's actually almost the first thing, because Brian became one of the most known faces of town hall to our entire community.
Yes. I mean, I
That's
know,
kind of
town
him
planner
though,
was
like that
also-
may not be the personality of the next person, but yes.
know. I
that's,
know.
they will have to be, they have no choice. That's
Brian
but,
also worked on a lot of other committees. I think he was a liaison to like historical commission and a bunch of other.
yeah, but that's, I think that the core of what the planner does
Mhm.
is to,
Right.
so I think that putting that in here somehow, so works with building department. I think,
You can just short that to say works with building and engineering departments, plural.
right, okay, so works with the building,
And engineering,
yeah,
and then plural. Yeah.
okay, so works with town boards. I'd say advises, I'm using the word works a lot here, but advises other town boards and committees such as HCSB, DRC, well, come on, DRC.
And working groups.
And citizens, yeah, there, I think that we can put working groups in, but I have a feeling that is,
No, I don't want it. It's a fire trap. I forget it.
it's just, we got too many words. We
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
use, we want to use things that people, so I'm going to spell these out. Who else, does they work with? Housing Partnership Board.
Mm-hmm.
There was TTAC.
Really?
Yeah, he actually had to staff TTAC,
Oh, yes, and he was doing the traffic master plan stuff.
but he
Or
was
whatever.
staffing TTAC. He and the town engineer were staffing TTAC. So yeah, but the point is they were, the planner was involved in just about everything. Okay,
On the
so
first bullet, change it to in applying and implementing, and it will take out words,
okay, so any
not applying.
yeah,
Um,
I like implying, but
and then this thing about the subdivision and SPGA, that subdivision thing needs to be on the, what does the planning board do? Because we have subdivision review and approval
Well-
authority. That's a big authority thing we have.
yeah, I'll put subdivision. Oh, stop that. So why don't we just remove subdivision here?
Okay.
Because it's too
Put it
many.
up in the top, because it's one of the things we do.
Yeah, and for some reason it doesn't want to delete it. It really likes those words. Whoa, no, 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 do not, what?
Okay, just put it in red and we'll go on.
I'm gonna save, and then I will just put this and say move. There we go, okay. What the board does.
It's the third one.
Well, it's SPGA plus,
Right.
okay, so let's
Right.
move back down to where we were. Okay. I think we're pretty much done.
One thing I was going to say is the third to last bullet and the last bullet. So the third to last bullet says that the town planner prepares studies. And the last one says that he relies on outside people for studies.
I think those are both true.
Okay,
Um,
Okay.
Because, for instance, the studies that the town planner would do would not be. I see your point. Yeah,
and I just don't want to open, because town meeting is very pouncy. And also there's a raised hand from Richard Leaf.
oh, I can't see that. Richard, I think, can someone give Richard the ability, make him a co-host so he can speak?
I just asked to unmute.
Oh, good.
I just wanted to mention that Brian was also involved with LHDs. I don't know if you want to bother with that or not,
The
but
local historic district?
yeah, like the Sims Corner, he was I mean, it was him and Jack for the most part doing it.
Yeah, well, that's an important, well, it doesn't seem to be an important part of town because we can't get anyone to move on it, but we can put it in there. So that would be.
I think it was important to the select board. It was, I mean, I was on it as a local architect, and it was hard to get.
Yeah, it's
a different issue.
It's a good goal.
Yeah, anyway.
Okay, so let's put it LA and the LHD.
Like that's going to help them understand, but.
Oh, no, I will spell these all out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I don't
Okay.
expect them. I'll put a lot of TLAs in there,
Okay.
which are 3-letter acronyms.
So, just from a syntax point of view, the first bullet can start with the word it represents.
Okay, so why don't, so in terms of the content of this slide,
Yeah.
anything
Well, I
else?
like it's got the town residence thing. That's huge. Building and engineering departments.
Okay, so but I'm going to merge this. These three have to get somehow I'll try to differentiate between a report that a town planner does versus a report that a consultant does.
Can you give me an example of a study that Brian authored? Because I don't know that I remember him doing studies.
Well, you could claim that, well, you wouldn't claim, but the work that was done in terms of reaching out to the people in the downtown for the downtown LHD, that is a study. And it was, I don't know if it got to the point where there was a write-up. But
Right.
this phrase is actually right out of the performance plan.
Okay, good. So whatever.
But certainly, a study could be doing a survey of, how many empty storefronts there are in the CBD.
Yeah, right.
I mean, those would be hyper local.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just call it hyper local studies. We're not looking for treatises.
And strategic
Yeah,
what
strategic's the word. Strategic plans, strategic studies.
Well, the studies to guide long-term strategy. Whatever.
Okay. Well, they're not strategic, let me get rid of the dual strategics. Okay.
And so the long-term studies, maybe versus long-term studies to guide development strategy.
Okay.
You want to take a hand from Richard Leaf?
Sure.
I'm asking him to unmute, but maybe his hand is just up.
Okay. So let's, so I think we're done with what the town planner does. The next slide, I think, is,
Hold on a sec, Richard, did you want to add something?
No, my hand won't go down. Oh, I'm sorry.
There you go.
Sorry.
this is a duplicate of the last one, so I'll just delete it. Okay. So then,
And then
Let's
let's
get-
put the word update in the big bar at the top. And then you can say what the yellow is the updates.
I think it helps if you put in maybe colloquial terms for it. So 654 is Fells Hardware.
should I even put in mixed use?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, it's residential plus first floor commercial. People might not even know what mixed use means.
I think they won't know a lot of the terms that we're using
So
throughout
let's
this
say
whole thing.
residential.
Well, is it rental or condos, first of all?
It's condos.
So
condo.
condos plus first floor commercial, that's what I would say in that parentheses. And instead of residential, I would put condos because
Sorry, the condos, no.
because people want to know.
Okay, so
And then-
735 is also, so this is, what do we call this?
Is it condos or rental at 735?
They're condos.
Wow.
You can also say Skillings or something, or Skillings in Maine.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know what was on that lot.
Yeah, I know, it's been so long. So let's just copy this. Come on, let's copy it.
Good,
These are all rental. I used
right?
to have lots of,
You can say across from Whole Foods, so people know, because I don't think the official name is Cambridge Street anymore either, so.
yeah, this is across.
I think people are curious to know how many units too, so if it's like 150 rentals.
I agree. People really want to know the number of
Oh, and I
units.
took all of that out to make this slide shorter. Okay.
You can put
Oh.
it in the text on the left. So 735
I'll
Main.
put in number of units, don't worry. I'll just put them in
Okay.
there. I'm just joking.
Good.
I forget.
What does
how-
it mean that appeal was exhausted in 735 Main?
It means they've appealed all the way to the top and it's been denied.
The state Supreme Court, is that what it is?
Okay, but
Judicial court.
it says approved and then ZBA. So,
Yes, it was approved by the ZBA. It was appealed
oh, okay,
and then it was,
Okay.
then it was denied and then it
All
was
right.
appealed to the SJC.
mhm,
The second
Okay.
one was appealed. It was affirmed. And then they decided not to appeal again. So I don't know if it matters.
Well, what matters to me is that it's moved out of appeal and it's moving forward with construction. I don't know how you
Okay,
say
so
that.
let me just put it this way, affirmed decision, approved decision, affirmed. after
Construction to start.
appeal. They haven't pulled a permit, so that's
Right, so just say permit pending. Or no,
I can't say that because they
Oh.
may decide they don't want to build it anymore. I
yeah,
don't know.
that's true.
I
Right.
mean, all we know is that decision was affirmed after appeal. Okay, whoops. Well, oh, come on.
so that means that they have the green light?
If they wish to, they could submit, they could go to the building department and pull permits.
Okay. Appeal exhausted was confusing. I think this is better.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure how specific. I wanted to be very
Right.
specific,
Mhm.
but because there are two, you can appeal twice.
Okay,
And one of them appealed twice and the other one only appealed once.
exhausted imply, well, yeah, this is good.
Okay, so the lottery is open.
You should
Yeah,
put,
do you want-
put something about talking to town manager if you want to be in the lottery, just I don't know.
I don't
Just
know. If
someone's gonna
else-
look at that and go, oh my God, oh my God.
I will say that, but I don't know if there's enough room.
Okay. You can say it out loud. Yeah, that's right.
Excuse me, Diab, do you want the unit breakdown for 416 Cambridge?
No, don't worry about it.
Okay.
This is just a note. And
I
so,
want all of them to have units. Yeah, that's right.
so these are all rentals. This is really funny because I I removed all of this information. 10 Converse Place is
Condos.
condos. Yeah, geez. Okay.
That'll teach you.
That'll teach me.
So you would just say number of condos and then, or number of rentals plus.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
And this is 9 units.
9,
These are rentals.
right, rentals, 9 3-bedrooms.
I would
Washington-
just say 9 rentals.
Oh, I see. Yes, right. 9 rentals, 2 affordable. Washington, Swanton, I have no idea what the numbers are on that.
And that is also rental plus first floor commercial instead of saying mixed use.
Washington, Swanton, yeah, that's right. Okay, rental.
Plus first floor commercial. And then Waterfield is
It's like
rental.
60 rental plus first floor commercial. Waterfield lot is, I think, 60 rental plus first floor.
Nope, they took out the first floor commercial.
Oh, that's right. You're correct.
It
Rental
came out in the task force.
plus XXX affordable. I should
Well,
probably do that.
yeah, right.
Somebody will think that we're putting up porn.
And in the thing that says pre-application, the status is permit application imminent. Is that the word or eminent? Imminent.
I think we should, it's imminent, but until it shows up, I don't know what to say.
I know, I'm counting chickens. I shouldn't do that.
Yes, don't do that, because the hawks will come and eat one of your chickens. Okay, so I'll make this fit. We'll add all of this information. I think we're done with this.
That's great. What's next?
Whoops, next page is, do we care?
No, everybody knows.
I think it's interesting,
Oh, well, then I defer.
but you know,
It's a, I mean, this is a lot of money for a 2-bedroom apartment.
Those 3-bedroom townhouses over on Cross Street, they're gonna rent for somewhere between 3,000 and 9,000 a month.
Well, that's now. I mean, but by the time they're built, there'll be more.
Yeah, I mean, this is just an idea of what, rental is expensive in town, but okay, so how many people want this? I can't say a show of hands because I can't see them.
I mean, you could go through it quickly, but I don't think you should dwell on it. I think people know that it's high.
Okay, so let's take it out.
okay.
Oops, no, I duplicated it. It was so important.
Did it again.
I took the wrong one. I think I got rid of the North Main Street corridor. No, I did it again. Apparently, I really like this slide. Delete. Okay. So, we are now at, how many slides? 15 slides. So that's,
One thing I just thought of that people are gonna say, what's the status of the ADU? Because it passed so resoundingly at town meeting. So when you're going up to updates, the status of the ADU is everyone can come to the May 11th event. And
okay,
just put that in
so,
your slide somewhere.
I'll add a new slide and say
ADU update.
update. Okay,
Okay, good.
North Main Street corridor. I don't have any pictures on this.
Well, so when you would, I think it's important to say that that we're going to bring the design guideline, we're going to be in front of them in the spring of 24 with North Main Street and 3A rezoning. Is that true? Spring of 24?
Yeah, that comes to, there's a separate slide on 3A, spring of 24.
Okay.
So
And on the slide for North Main, where you talk about integrating with 3A, people have not going to be able to understand what you're talking about and what it is. If I was to just put it in, you know, like kitchen table language, 3A mandates that we zone for multi-housing in various levels up to a 1 mile radius from the Winchester Center commuter rail station, with more density a half mile in, and that half mile is up to Clark, and everybody would want to know that.
yeah, so actually the 1 mile, it's not, the half mile is what's in there. The 1 mile is, we don't have to be within a mile.
Oh,
The half mile has to be in there. So that leads me to the question of, I spent a lot of time in the last town meeting talking about MBT section 3A. How much do I go into it this time? I've always said that we should prep people, we should tell people it's coming, tell people it's coming. Is this too vague?
well, a lot's happened since the last town meeting in terms of the state providing free technical assistance to us. That's huge. Everybody in town meeting would love to know we're getting something for free.
That's on that slide.
Let me see. Oh, okay, paid consultants, right?
So
Modeling scenarios to allow us to be
so
compliant.
should I lead with this instead of the North Main Street?
Yes.
Because then when I talk about MBTA on the North Main Street, it's a little more obvious.
Yes.
Okay, so let
That's
me.
smart.
Okay, so
It's really, the 3A is the, if we don't do it, there's bad consequences, as opposed to North Main and Holton. If we don't do it, it's just that nothing better will happen.
So should I put in the carrot and stick statement, or should I?
About 3A?
Yeah,
Well, I think anybody who reads the Boston Globe regularly would be aware that the sticks are flying.
well, I don't know that everyone reads it, so.
Yeah, I don't think people do.
Okay.
So why don't I just say,
MBTA communities 3A or section 3A requirements.
well, I don't want to go into the requirements, but I think we'll have to say something like status of state enforcement efforts. AG statement. AG put out a powerful statement.
She did.
Oh, she did. So let me, I mean, there aren't a lot of carrots anymore. Because the AG said, you know,
Well, no, the carrot is, the big carrot is that you have access to MassWorks, which is a portal for.
Yeah, but it's no longer a carrot, because the AG has said, even if you choose to reject funding from the state, we're still coming after you. So it's,
I would still put the reason that it's a really great thing for us to do, aside from the fact that we don't want to get sued, is that it allows us access to the MassWorks portal.
well, we get a lot of stuff. It's not just MassWorks. Allows access to, no, it doesn't allow access. We retain access.
Right. To state funding.
To state funding, and it will provide more housing for Winchester residents.
This is a true statement.
And that's
I don't know how to put this in a bullet point, but the fact that Lexington just recently in their town meeting passed 250 acres of multifamily zoning, and their carrot was that they're righting some wrongs. Yeah, I think that's a little bit more complicated a thing to say, but I was quite impressed with what they did, and I you know.
Well, they're
Yeah.
the first town that I know of that's in full compliance ahead of schedule.
Oh,
And they also did 3 times as much land as the model
5
required them.
times,
What?
5 times.
5 times, okay.
Yeah,
So I'm not saying that Winchester's gonna do that.
but they also
No,
have been working on.
but I mean, there were some arguments and I wish I followed them a little more, but whatever arguments that they made to their town meeting to do that.
Well, so they've actually apparently been working on this for some time. And they've been rebuffed. What I've understood, which is secondhand from someone who read more about it, was that they had been rebuffed by town meeting prior. And that the only reason this passed this time was because of the 50% rather than the 2/3 majority, because they only got 60%.
Right.
That's still significant.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I think it's a complicated statement to put here.
Yeah, sure.
Can
And
we
that's-
put the first 2 bullets last? I just
Yeah.
like to start with good things.
Sure.
The great thing is that as long as we comply, we retain access to our funding and it will end up giving us more housing. The bad thing is if we don't comply, there are enforcement efforts like withdrawing funding commitments and even suing the town.
Yeah.
I like that, Sally.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we'll do this. Do we want to lead with this or go with this? Should I put the update before I go? Yeah, let's put the update up here. We'll say something about multifamily zoning, then we'll,
I think the other thing is that Brian Zakeli said to us that our existing zoning is very close to compliance and it will be moderate changes. Only moderate changes will be required for us to be fully in compliance. And I
So-
was really heartened when Brian told us that.
yes, so let's be careful. So what I did is, so if we look at the technicalities of whether we're going to be able to meet the number of units and the
Acreage.
units and the spatial and the density, those are easy. But if you read those, and that's why I really recommend you read the example zoning,
Okay.
there are some specific things that you cannot do. One of the things, or that you have to be very careful about. So you can, for instance, have design guidelines, but they have to be objective. They cannot be subjective. So for instance, you cannot say landscaping has to be nice, because that's not an objective thing that you can measure. So if you look at our CBD regs, there's a lot about the, which says maintaining the sense of place. We're going to have to go through all of those things, and we're going to have to look at them through the eyes of what the state wants in terms of what is objective and what is subjective.
Which is why the technical consultants are so valuable.
Well, but that's where it falls to this board. The technical consultants will say you will comply in terms of area and density and number of units.
They can help us with assessments of how
Yeah.
objective or no?
They're not paid for that.
Okay.
Our current consultants are, we've got 4 months of them, and they're paid to do just the compliance model
Okay.
for that. But it doesn't, the compliance model just says you've got the area and all that. But the actual zoning has to be very objective.
So go
And
to the slide that has the word zoning on it.
Sorry,
Go to the slide that has the word zoning on it.
I have a slide which has a word zoning, so I don't know
Oh,
which
I
one you're
thought
talking about.
you
Oh, I
did.
mean, the next one.
Yeah, there it is. Zoning and design standards at Springtown meeting. And then you can say that state will require that the design standards not be open to interpretation, which is what I assume they mean by objective.
Well, that's where you have to, I mean, this is where we need to have someone who is going to work over our current regs and understand if we have particular, I'm not an expert in how to understand all of the ramifications of what's in their suggested zoning.
Well,
But- So I don't, design standards is, I would be careful and just say zoning.
all right, yeah, because it's opening up a can of worms.
And
You'll
it's,
be interested to know that early in the 10 Converse process, I took it upon myself to replace every might and may and could with shall and should, and made a separate document that read the way I thought it should read. So if you
But-
want me to share that with you, I can.
I think that that's a start, Sally, but then you have to take things out as well. So
Oh,
for instance,
absolutely, yeah.
you cannot say anything about the quality of materials. You cannot, so there's just our regs were written from the standpoint of someone who is trying to create a sense of place. And there's a lot of subjective statements in there, which the state has said you can't have them. But I don't know which statements are too subjective and which are not. So this is where the rubber really is going to meet the road. So I think we should be careful about what we promise. And I know in the past we've said that we can meet density and all of the technical points easily, but with these new example zoning bylaws, that's the section that we were always concerned about, the physical layout, because that's what we thought would be more difficult. But there's another side to it that we have to look at. So, and I'm not trying to scare anyone. It's just that I see that as something that we haven't really looked at yet. And that's where we're going to need help.
And I don't like the word guidelines either. If they're guidelines, then they're not objective.
Well, the problem
I
with
mean, they are objective if they're subjective, if they're guidelines.
this is we're going to have to dive into the philosophy of what goes into the bylaw and what goes into the regs. But right now, we need design guidelines, and whether they go into the zoning or not, I'm not sure that this language, I mean, people don't think of, they think of design guidelines.
Right.
And so let's,
Okay.
If we take it to the, so the question is, do we want to put in pictures or do we want to just have slides? We're already at 17 slides.
We're already also at 10 p.m.
Yes, that too.
Oh, that explains it. Why I'm holding my head up.
So we're not going to get to the review of the slides for the our articles, but you've seen them already. You can send me comments. They are part of the packet. This is the important one in terms of a sign off from this board.
Yeah.
So if the board is okay with not having pretty pictures for the North Main Street and Holton Street, we're at 17. That's more than enough slides.
I think you're gonna want at least a map that delineates what you're talking about.
Very good point. Especially, yes, for both Holton and North Main.
Okay, so I can pull in, I pull in the stuff from the,
Insert map. That's all you have to do for now.
yeah, I'll
Yeah.
insert, we have maps from the last presentation.
Yeah,
How do I make this stop? Okay, so I will just say
such a good point, Carrie.
insert map. Insert.
Pictures, break it up.
Well, it's
Well,
the
people don't understand what.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
need to see
they
where
need-
we're gonna be.
Like when we were talking about the 3 different paths ahead, it's all about the boundaries.
but it is, but we can't, the
We're not
folks
going to do that in town meeting, but I'm saying that Carrie's really
Yeah.
right about the maps.
insert map. We can't educate people about things that have had hours of meetings, but insert maps. I'm not going to insert a map for the 3A one because I don't think it's
No.
possible. We have to wait until our compliance models come through. We
Right.
certainly can insert map of area. On the city map of area.
I take back my comment about the rental prices. I because I know it so well, I think that everybody knows it, but if it is a nice like breaking up of things and an introduction to new information for some people, you should put it back.
Now that you deleted it, you have to go back to your old
Did you-
file
I
and get
mean,
it.
Can't you
I
get
hope
an
you
old
did a
copy?
save as. Diab's turning red.
Sorry, yeah,
Laughing because I think I have
you
a
completely
backup.
deleted it.
No,
I'm
no, I have
sorry.
a backup. I have a backup every hour of this disk that goes out to the cloud. So I'll have to figure out how to pull that back up.
Maybe it's just a refreshing
Do
info
file
outside of
save
Zoom.
as, and then the old one, oh, you already saved it.
Don't worry, don't worry. I will insert map of area.
So,
I will put that in there. Insert map of area. And then where do you want to put that?
Oh, when you talked about housing, maybe after all the projects that are coming in.
Okay. And how about we'll put it as part of ADUs? Sure.
what are you meaning? A map? of-
Maybe before ADU, after.
I think if you're gonna do the proposed developments and then a map of rentals, you should also clarify what an affordable unit would be, or what, I thought there's no understanding of what that is, like what the income requirements would be and what the cost of the rental would be.
That's
Okay.
a whole different conversation.
Yeah, I know, but it's sort of like you're suggesting, like, if you don't, then you're kind of saying the rents are super high, we're doing affordable, but we're not defining, we're just defining when it's not affordable.
Okay, so let me introduce, let me put
Ah,
in.
We're down a wormhole after 10.
Yeah,
Yes,
maybe
rental
we don't have to do,
prices
I don't know.
plus Affordable.
Did everybody
prices.
want to see the rental prices? Maybe I
I mean, they're gone now. I mean, I think we're
We-
okay.
we
just
can get 'em
just
back
stop.
to-
I think it's a little, I think it's a curiosity slide. I like what you're doing with making people sort of, engage, but I think it's a little outside of the course.
What you can do, Diab, is say, I know that many people in town meeting might have questions about how the affordability works. How do you qualify to get on an affordable list? That information is available. Speak to me or Marty or
Oh.
John.
No, speak to Jen Caparella in town hall. They're the only one, she's the only one who knows.
Okay,
I think that, affordable lottery open, maybe it's just go, apply at town hall.
right. So they'll go to the clerk's office and she'll say, go upstairs.
Yeah, she'll figure it out. So if we don't, I will, I'll leave this in here as a maybe. And, as I prune, but I Carrie, I think you're right. It doesn't really fit. It is a curiosity slide. It's a good to know.
I
Maybe,
personally find it very depressing because I have a young adult child and
Right.
rent is a really depressing topic.
okay, well, but that's, we're trying to tell people the truth, whether it's depressing or not.
Right, I think the depressing part may motivate people to think about this a little more. in
I mean,
town
one
meeting.
of the
I see.
things,
Okay, yes, I buy that.
let's, the problem with affordable units is,
Capital A, affordable.
yeah, but it's complex, right? So I'll put this down, pull in deleted slide, thanks, I Ching.
You're in trouble now.
Maybe you can do a screenshot from the recording.
Oh. God.
Okay, no, okay, I'll do this. Okay, so I think we're done. Please let us be done. Can I get the board to okay this presentation?
Yes, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconds.
Okay, and I
And
think,
Diab, I will be happy to look at it with you this week so that there's no typos or any.
sure, and I
errors.
still have to take the presentation for 355 and make it much shorter.
Okay.
But that you
Right,
saw,
but we're not approving the amendments now, are we? Or we're gonna do that after this?
What
we
am
don't, we've,
Or is it done?
What am I-
that's, the slides for our other, no, so we're approving this. The
Okay,
slides so this is the only one the town meeting that the town moderator has said we need approval of, that she wants approval of the reports.
okay.
Because because of in the past, there have been non-unanimous approval of reports, but they were presented to town meeting as if they were unanimous. And so that
Wow.
was an issue. So she's now requested that all reports be approved. And so we have
What
a
about
motion,
if you can't get unanimous? What if it was 4-1? Wouldn't?
then
that
I
make-
would say it was 4-1.
Oh, I see. Okay.
The point is that she wants to know how it's been approved. So we have a motion on the floor to approve this. We have it second. Let's do, I think we just seconded it. Did someone
I
second it?
did. I seconded it.
Okay, so roll call vote, please. Sally,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
I Ching,
Aye.
Carrie,
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, and I say yes as well. Okay.
So, I mean, so this was not the report for 355. This was just what we.
No,
looked
this
at
is
now.
our report of the planning board.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
the 355 is simply a presentation in support of the article to convince town meeting to pass it. So, I think I would appreciate, and if those two presentations for those two articles are in your packet, if you have any editorial comments that don't affect policy, but just cleaning up, I think that's perfectly okay. So you can send them to me. I need to get these to, essentially by Monday morning. I have to get, because town meeting opens next Monday.
Right.
I have to get these to town hall for inclusion, so they can be properly displayed. And
And Diab, I sent you an email with some thoughts, but
okay, yes, you did. I remember seeing that. Thank you. Okay, so a motion to adjourn, please.
So
Move
moved.
to adjourn.
Okay,
I second that.
excellent. Roll call vote. Carrie,
Yes.
Nick,
Aye.
Sally,
yes.
I Ching,
Yes.
and I say aye as well. I think that's all of us. So we are adjourned. We will actually be meeting shortly before town meeting next Monday.
Oh, and in our minutes, it didn't say clearly what time, like on the second page of our agenda where it has a little chart.
Yeah, I
it-
will, we do have to discuss. So town meeting starts early. It starts at 6:30. I don't think that we don't have to talk about town meeting articles. We don't have to talk about, you know, there won't be time to modify any of the presentations. So I don't know that we actually have to meet.
So
Does
but I do think that we should all be there for our articles being on the floor.
Right, but I don't know that we have to meet as a board prior to town meeting next Monday.
It sounds like we don't.
If anything comes up, I will let you know. We're gonna post the meeting anyway, but if we don't have to be there, we'll just cancel it.
Will it be posted from 5:30 to 6:30?
That's when we have we have the room reserved for then. So
Okay.
we will post it for that, and then.
And that would be the same thing for Thursday, the 27th.
I think we can decide next Tuesday whether we continue, but yeah,
Okay, yeah.
because we have a meeting next Tuesday. Okay, so we have adjourned, but that was just talking about scheduling, so it's okay. Thank you to Nancy Placari, our recording secretary. Thank you to Brian Manter, town engineer. Thanks to
Richard
Leaf.
Leaf, our liaison to the Chamber of Commerce.
George Noel, who has joined us for the last several times. Welcome and thank you for showing up. Thank you, WinCam, and thank you everyone out there in TV land. We will see you at town meeting next week. Live.
Bye.
Have a great evening. Bye, everyone.
Record.